Yes, it's a time to remember. A time to remember the great cruise we had aboard Holland American's MS Statendam, a 1,266 passenger ship. But you know what made our cruise particularly special for us was our shipboard companions. Don and Zella Colber from Florida. Bob and Artie Olson, also from Florida. And Brother Len and Sister Betty, our frequent companions from the state of Washington. Now Lois and I want to thank each of you for making our cruise so enjoyable. And now to the itinerary for our 17-day cruise. The Statendam departed Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Tuesday, April 25th at 5 p.m. Our first port of call was Nassau, located about 90 miles east off the Florida coast. It is the capital of the Bahamas. We arrived at 7 a.m. and departed at noon. We were then at sea a day and a half before docking at St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. From St. Croix, we were another day and a half at sea before reaching Aruba, which is a member of the ABC Island Group. From Aruba, we traveled through the Panama Canal into the Pacific Ocean and cruised along scenic Gulf of Dulce to Puerto Caldera, Costa Rica. We were then at sea 2 days before docking at Acapulco, called the Queen of the Mexican Riviera. This is, sadly, where Bob and Artie disembarked. Then our next ports of call in Mexico were Zihuatanejo, Ixtapa, and Puerto Vallarta. Then 2 more days at sea, which brought us to Port San Pedro in Los Angeles, California. This concluded our 17-day cruise. We disembarked at about 10 a.m. Friday, May 12th. The Statendam sailed at 5 p.m. that day for Seattle and Vancouver with a full complement of passengers. Now to an overview of our cruise and activities. To start, let's review my video of the first 3 ports of call. And here it comes. Don't touch your TV set. As you can see, something went sadly wrong on my first videotape. Yes, I goofed. And this is quite a surprise for Lois. I'm not perfect, dear. But thanks to Betty's photography and the help of a previous video at 2 of the ports, we'll get the cruise started. And we'll pick up the videotape that we made on the ship when we get to the canal. So bear with us, you all. Here we go. Bon voyage. Well, we'll start at the entrance to Port Everglades. As you can see, our ship Statendam is on berth 26 and the QE2 on 21. So we go over there and see our ship. And here it is. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and however, we don't board until about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So let's go aboard, shall we? And here's our cabin steward. And we're ready to set sail. There's the QE2, that was it. And here's the Holland American people to see us off. So let's listen to what goes on. Okay. Port Everglades is the deepest port on the Atlantic coast south of Norfolk, Virginia, and today the 3rd busiest port in Florida. Well, on our way to Nassau. Here we are. There's Brother Len and our ship. We were the first in that morning. 2 others tied up on the next pier over. One was the Royal Caribbean, that white one. Now here's a view from above the town, and this is Paradise Island. That formerly was Merv Griffin's casino and resort. There's a view of the city and of some of the dwellings, houses. There's the entrance to the harbor. This is Fort Fincastle. It has an odd shape, doesn't it? As you can see, there's 3 cannons above there. There's also 3 below. It was built in 1793. Now this is the governor's house. And this is Bay Street. It's the main street of the town where everybody seems to go to shop a lot. Well, it's now just about noon, so it's time to get back to the ship. Well, after a day on the sea, we arrived at St. Croix, which is the largest of 3 principal U.S. Virgin Islands, which also includes St. Thomas and St. John. There we toured the island and visited the Wim Great House, which is a restored 1700 sugar plantation. From there, we visited a rum distillery. Now, St. Croix has flown a number of flags over the years: Dutch, English, French, Danish, even the Knights of Malta. Nowadays, it's an American flag, you will see, but there's still plenty of evidence of this small island's diverse heritage. Well, it's back on the ship, and after another day's sailing, we arrived at Aruba. Well, this little island boasts an exciting assortment of beautiful beaches. You can just ask Betty and Len about that. They went swimming that day. As you can see, there's a number of condos and there's high-rise hotels along the beach area. Now we're in Oranjestad, which is the town there. And this is in the village shopping mall. This is a hotel where you can come and go by boat if that's what you please to do. As you can see, there's quite a Dutch influence here for obvious reasons, since it's in the Netherlands Antilles. This is in the marketplace where fruit, vegetables, and souvenirs are sold. It's right there on the wharf area. We were there on Sunday, so not too many of these stands were open. Well, it's approaching 6 o'clock, and we're ready to depart Aruba. As we sail out of the island, I think it's interesting to note that Aruba is one of the ABC Islands, which stand for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, and they have long historical connections with Holland. As a group, they're called the Netherlands Antilles. Right here, we're just going out of the harbor. And close to the town there is this airport, which is an international airport. And there's quite a traffic pattern coming in. And the airplanes fly right over the top of the ships which are departing. And this was an airplane that had to make a go-around since our ship was right in the approach path. And here it comes again. It's now lined up with the runway, and as you can see, it's quite close to the ship. And as the ships get taller and taller than their superstructures, I would think they'd have more missed approaches. Well, I think that's enough of Aruba. Let's go aboard our ship. Well, our morning newspaper that shows all the activities of the day says it's Tuesday, May 2nd. And this is the day that we've been waiting for. We will be transiting the Panama Canal. So, how about it? Let's go topside, shall we? Here we are. We're topside. And we're just about ready to enter the Gatun Locks. There's one of the tugs that helps us along the way. We have our commentator aboard to tell us about what goes on.
To head our way. That should be occurring about right now. Many persons think of the canal as something rather old that works very well. Actually, the canal has been updated. Millions and millions of dollars have been put into all kinds of improvements and maintenance. So as we go through today, you might see something ultra-modern right beside something that was used from the very first day.
Take a look there. You can see that where the fresh water and the salt water come together.
And before the advent of modern communications, the pilots on the ships had no way of knowing what the status of the locks was. So according to the position of the arrow, that would update them. Today they all have their modern radios and can actually do without the arrows, but they have kept them operational for old time's sake. Good steps. Pero Miguel 1, Miraflores 2. The original idea was to have one lock at each end with the three steps together. But on the Pacific end, they were a little concerned that there might be foundation problems, so they split them by a mile, looking for more solid ground.
Nope, I did not.
Ships are lifted on one end to 85 feet above sea level and lowered on the other end the same amount. Contrary to popular belief, the oceans of the world are found on the same zero level. So the canal is actually a gigantic water bridge taking the vessels through the continental divide. This was done simply with the idea of preventing more work. They calculate about 10 years' worth.
Well, I think it's about time that we take a look at some history on the canal. So let's take a look now, shall we? Here's some history.
Long before there was a canal through the isthmus, there was a cobblestone trail over it, the Spanish Trail. El Camino Real, the King's Highway. Before there was a Spanish trail, Christopher Columbus explored the Atlantic side of the isthmus in the year 1502. Columbus was searching for a hidden strait or water passage that would lead directly to the markets of Asia. To his dying day, he never realized that a vast ocean lay beyond these jungled hills, or that he had actually discovered a whole new continent. 11 years after Columbus, Vasco Núñez de Balboa crossed the isthmus and became the first European to touch the eastern shores of the Pacific. Balboa named his discovery the South Sea, and claimed it and all the lands it touched for the Spanish crown. Spanish soldiers followed, conquistadores, marching south over the cobblestone trail to the new settlement of Panama. And from Panama, Spanish soldiers plundered the coasts of South America and the islands of the South Pacific. And as soldiers marched south over the trail, spoils of conquest were carried north. Treasures on their way to Spain, gold and silver from the Incas, pearls and spices from the islands of the South Pacific. In 1524, King Charles of Spain ordered a survey for the purpose of building a canal, but nothing came of it. 30 years later, King Philip concluded, if God had wanted a water route through the isthmus, he would have put one there. During the 16th century, French, Dutch, and English privateers attacked Spanish treasure ships. Here in the 1570s, Captain Francis Drake began his celebrated career. And here, 30 years later, Sir Francis Drake died of tropical fever. He was buried at sea near a small offshore island that still bears his name. To protect the treasure and the treasure ships, Spain built two forts, one at the end of the land trail, Portobello. The other at the mouth of the Chagres River, San Lorenzo. But Portobello and San Lorenzo did not stop all intruders. In 1671, the pirate Henry Morgan and his band of ruffians stormed San Lorenzo, then swashbuckled across the isthmus to sack and burn the city of Panama. Spain's New World Empire lasted for 3 centuries. By the year 1821, revolts and revolutions had forced it to an end. Then, less than 30 years later, it was gold. Gold again. This time California gold that created a stampede across the isthmus. Hundreds of 49ers, all in a hurry to be first, gambled on this shortcut to California. A railroad followed. But instead of the estimated 2 years to complete, it took 5. And the cost was 6 times more than anticipated. Also more than anticipated was the cost of human life. Each day during construction years, a funeral train steamed its way to a local cemetery. However, in 1855, the Panama Railroad was the world's first transcontinental, ocean to ocean in 3 hours. And it had a perfect monopoly on all travel across the isthmus. $25 in gold to ride first class, $10 second class, and $5 to walk the track. At one time, the Panama Railroad was the highest priced stock listed on the New York Exchange. A railroad across the isthmus. But what about a canal? A canal would save ships 8,000 miles and several months sailing time. Right after Spanish rule had dissolved, canal surveys began. Surveys up and down the isthmus. Surveys by England and France. Surveys by Holland and the United States. Then, in 1879, the Frenchman Ferdinand de Lesseps sailed to Panama and told the world, the canal will be made. De Lesseps, a man of extraordinary charm and persuasion, was the driving force behind the Suez Canal, a 100-mile ditch dug through the deserts of Egypt. De Lesseps argued that a sea-level canal through Panama would be only half as long as Suez. Therefore, it would be easier to build and maintain. But de Lesseps was 75 years old, and during the 10 years of French construction, he made only 2 brief visits to Panama. Like a general far in the rear, he waged a mighty campaign against a distant wilderness. And his boundless optimism and fierce determination to succeed that had made Suez a triumph made Panama a disaster. He claimed the climate was healthy. It was not. Of the French men and women who went to the isthmus, 2 out of 3 died there. 2 out of 3. Noxious vapors, swamp gas, jungle fever. These were the reported killers. The real killers were still at large. De Lesseps also underestimated the jungle, the dense, unyielding jungle. And he miscalculated the immensity of the project. From an engineering standpoint, there were 2 large lions blocking the path of a sea-level canal. One lion was the Chagres River, a river that could rise 40 feet overnight. When asked how he would control the Chagres, de Lesseps always replied, "We'll divert it," but he never explained precisely how. The other lion was the Continental Divide, the spine, the backbone of 2 continents. A sea-level canal required a cut 9 miles long and several hundred feet deep. De Lesseps pictured a neat vertical cut, but sudden storms caused mudslides, and when sidewalls caved in, French engineers discovered that the more they dug, the more they had left to dig. They finally realized that entire mountains on both sides of the cut would have to be removed. By 1889, it was apparent that 19th century French equipment could not conquer the jungled hills and wild rivers of Panama. In France, failure of the canal brought financial ruin to the privately owned construction company. For de Lesseps, and for those who fell with him, the canal at Panama was written off as a graveyard of reputations. In 1914, 25 years after the French, and nearly 4 centuries after the first canal survey, the United States completed a canal through the Isthmus of Panama. Construction began in 1904. That was 6 years after the Spanish-American War convinced Americans that 2 months was too long to get a battleship from the Pacific to the Atlantic. Although construction began in 1904, in 1902, most politicians in Washington favored a canal at Nicaragua. However, during the debate, one of Nicaragua's volcanoes had a splendid eruption. Panama, it was argued, did not have volcanoes. The vote was 42 to 34. Panama by 8 votes. 8 votes. Had 5 members of Congress voted differently, it might very well be the Nicaragua Canal. The final resurrection of Panama came in November 1903. Panama declared independence from Colombia. A revolution followed. A 4-day revolution discreetly sanctioned and ominously backed by the United States. Now the isthmus belonged to the Republic of Panama. I took the isthmus, started the canal, and then left Congress, not to debate the canal, but to debate me. But while the debate goes on, the canal does too. Theodore Roosevelt, first of the 3 presidents who served during the construction of the canal. Roosevelt announced that the dirt would be made to fly and the mountains to yield. But neither one happened. The same obstacles that had vexed the French vexed Americans. By 1900, malaria and yellow fever had been traced to 2 different types of mosquitoes. But most Americans regarded the mosquito theory as newfangled nonsense, balderdash. It was ridiculous to spend time and money chasing mosquitoes. Understaffed and without funds or supplies, Dr. William Gorgas was powerless to stop the epidemic that followed, an epidemic that brought the workforce to a halt. Only after John Stevens became chief engineer in 1905 did Gorgas get full backing. Isolation wards, fumigation brigades, swamps were drained, and standing water was either covered or coated with oil. In less than 2 years, there was a dramatic turnabout. Yellow fever was eliminated. Malaria reduced by 50%. Now, and only now, could the canal be built. Another obstacle to de Lesseps' dream, the Chagres River, was held in check by a massive earth dam and spillway. The Chagres backed up to form Lake Gatun. In 1914, Lake Gatun was the largest man-made lake in the world. About 1/2 of the canal transit is made through the waters of Lake Gatun. By 1907, both fever and flood were under control. But by 1907, the mountains had not been made to yield. At Culebra Cut, the 9-mile dig through the Continental Divide, the battle between man and nature climaxed. Like the French, American engineers underestimated the amount of dirt to be removed. They too discovered that the more they dug, the more they had left to dig. In a matter of hours, giant mudslides wiped out a whole month's work. Avalanches of mud, tropical glaciers of mud and rock. Because of the mud, every vehicle and piece of equipment had to run on tracks. And because of the incessant rain and sweltering heat, working conditions were intolerable. Yet for 7 years, day and night, the cut was never silent. For 7 years, machines stopped only for maintenance and repair. For 7 years, Chief Engineer George Goethals predicted that the slides would stop. But the slides did not stop. Goethals had replaced John Stevens as chief engineer in 1907. He carried to a conclusion Stevens' master plan for digging and for getting rid of the dirt. Getting rid of the dirt had baffled the French 20 years earlier. Compared to the French, American equipment was twice as big, twice as powerful, and 5 times more efficient. One factor, however, remained the same. The men who actually built the canal, the laborers, the operators, were predominantly black. And predominantly from the islands of the West Indies. Of all the struggles at Panama, the excavation at Culebra Cut was by far the worst, and by far the most magnificent. It was the special wonder of the canal. People came from all over the world to see the 9-mile canyon through the Continental Divide, and they came to see the famous slides. Even after the canal was completed, the slides did not stop. A slide in 1915 closed operations for 7 months. Because of the unstable elements, the cut, now renamed Gaillard, requires constant surveillance. Drilling and dredging have never ceased. A sea-level canal or a lock canal. The decision to build a lock canal was not made until 1906, 2 full years after construction had started. And the decision to build a lock canal made most of the French excavation useless. At Panama, there are 6 locks, 3 sets at each end of the canal. These locks raise ships 85 feet above sea level. Upon completion, they surpassed any similar structures in the world in size and movement. A single lock stood on end was taller than the Eiffel Tower. And unlike a bridge or building, they did not just stand there. They worked. They had thousands of moving parts. Concrete poured by the ton had to move within a framework of inches. The whole locking operation depends upon 9 months of heavy rainfall and gravity. Water flows downhill into Lake Gatun. Water flows downhill into the locks. And for each ship that passes through the canal, 52 million gallons of fresh water are dumped into the sea. The water consumed by the canal in 1 day, the water consumed in 1 day would keep the city of Boston supplied for 2 weeks. In 1914, The outbreak of World War I overshadowed the opening ceremonies of the canal. Most newspapers shuffled it to the back pages. Yet up to 1914, no single construction effort attempted by the government of the United States could compare to the Panama Canal. The amount of earth removed to dig the entire ditch was equal to a building 19 miles high. A building 19 miles high with a full city block for its base. The cost alone was 5 times more than the government had spent to acquire all new land and territory up to that time. That included the Louisiana Purchase, Alaska, and the Philippine Islands. But what was perhaps even more remarkable, construction was completed 6 months ahead of schedule, and the cost was significantly under the estimate. The Treaty of 1904 gave the United States both the right to build a canal and complete sovereignty over a 10-mile wide strip of land called the Canal Zone. Within the Canal Zone, only Panama City and Colon would be governed by Panama. For these concessions, the United States paid Panama a sum of $10 million, and beginning in 1913, a yearly payment of $250,000. But the conditions of this treaty and the attitudes of both Americans and Panamanians caused strained relations. New treaties were signed in 1939 and in 1955. There were local riots in 59, 62, and 64. In 1978, another treaty returned more than half of the canal zone to Panama and provided that the operation of the canal would be Panama's responsibility by the year 2000. Because of the geographical twist of the isthmus, the Atlantic opening to the canal is farther west than the Pacific. And because of this twist, Panama is the only country in the world where the sun rises over the Pacific and sets over the Atlantic. For ships to pass from ocean to ocean, 8 to 10 hours are required. Specially trained canal pilots board all ships and guide them through the unpredictable winds, changing water currents, heavy rain, and thick fog. Even the captains of warships must yield control of their vessels. One pilot for small craft. Large tankers and container ships require as many as 4. Tolls are determined by weight and by the type of cargo. In 1977, the luxury liner Queen Elizabeth II paid over $68,000 for a single passage. However, the average toll for 1977 was $14,000. The lowest toll on record was paid by Richard Halliburton. In 1929, Halliburton swam the canal, and based on his body weight of 140 pounds, he was charged 36 cents. Over the years, there have been improvements. Gale Yard Cut was widened from 300 to 500 feet. The original towing locomotives were replaced by more powerful models. On the Panama Railroad, travel time between Colon and Panama City has been cut in half. And to ride an air-conditioned coach costs less than what the first Panama Railroad charged to walk the track. In 1966, channel lights were installed, making transit possible on a 24-hour schedule. One feature, however, has not changed. Rowboats still carry towing ropes from ship to shore, just as they did when the canal first opened. Another unique feature at Panama is the lack of noise. Something as big as the Panama Canal should make a lot of noise. It doesn't. There is an occasional horn blast, a clanging bell, or the soft whine of electric locomotives. But for the most part, the 51-mile journey through jungle and mountain is characterized by a haunting stillness. The quiet is perhaps a fitting counterpoint to the sounds of the past. Back to the sounds of construction, when there was never a moment's silence. Back to the sounds of the first transcontinental. Back to the sounds of the 49ers. And back to the sounds of Spanish soldiers making heavy footsteps over the El Camino Real, a highway built for a Spanish king.
Well, here we are, back on the Statendam, and we're just ready to go into the first set of locks, which is the Gatun locks on the Atlantic side, of course. Well, here's a little rowboat, and they still use a rowboat today to bring the lines from the locomotives or mules there on the dock to the ship. How about that for progress? Now, since we are transiting the canal from the Atlantic to the Pacific side, we first entered the channel from Lyman Bay at the Cristobal Breakwater. And that sea level section of the canal channel is 6.5 miles long and 500 feet wide and runs through a mangrove swamp that's only a few feet above sea level in most places. By the way, that boxy ship there on our left is an automobile transport ship, and it's said that it carries somewhere around 5,000 automobiles. Now, as you can see, we're just about ready to enter the lock, and that lock, by the way, is 110 feet wide and 1,000 feet long, and our ship is 101 feet wide and 700 feet long. So you can see when we get in it, we're only going to have 9 feet total clearance side to side. Well, the gates are opening, so we're about ready to go in, and then we'll be raised 85 feet over 3 of these locks. Now, these are the mules, or locomotives. There's 3 on each side of the ship, and what they do is to keep us aligned laterally in the lock. Well, there's all the spectators watching us go through. Now look at the clearance here. That ship next to us has certainly less than we have. We only have 4.5 feet on either side of the ship. There you can see the lock is opening. Now you can see the locomotive pulling us to the forward part of the lock, and then it will raise us up 1/3 of that 85 feet that we have to go, since there are 3 rocks here. Well, the water has filled up in that first lock, as you can see, the gates are opening, and now we'll move into the second lock, and then the water will fill that lock up and will be raised up another third of that 85 feet. This is the second lock that we're going into now, the Gatun lock. Now just let us listen to the sounds and watch the sights as we go through the locks. Now, contrary to what it might look like, these locomotives or mules are not pulling the ship. The ships are under their own power or being propelled by a tugboat. Well, you can see here the water line. We're going to be raised up to where that green line ends up to be white. You can see right adjacent to us the ship is has been raised to the top of the lock. And look at the marks there on the side. You can see where it has scraped against the side.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning.
See the anchor?
On the ship, and we're looking towards Cristobal, and you can see the locks we've already come through. There's a ship behind us that's getting ready to come into a lock.
And as it was stopped up with a dam here on the right.
As you can see, the roof is open, exposing the Lido deck.
We're looking at Gatun Lake, and this is off to the side. It's a part of the jungle area, and you can see some of the lake still spilled over in this area. Now there you can see the pilot down there. He's on the bridge area, that protrusion. And there you can see us traversing along and how close we are. Well, let's go to the crow's nest, shall we? See who's there.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hi, guys.
Oh, there they are. Hi there.
Hi there. Is this glaring on you?
Oh, just a little, but that's all right.
How about that?
Yeah, you got a nice view here, huh?
Nice glare.
Yes. You have a weekend break?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So, have you enjoyed it?
Yes, I always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great.
We watched it from the back end this time.
Oh, that's good.
We saw the veterans where we had been.
Good.
Where we were going.
You have a great view from the crow's nest. It's nice and air conditioned too. And here we are now departing the locks, going into Gatun Lake. And these are the ships that are sitting there awaiting their turn to go through the locks. And this is one of the pilot boats that comes to pick up the crew that Panama provided to handle the cables. You can see them getting aboard there. Well, there's a view looking back at the locks. And there goes the pilot boat. Another view of the assortment of ships awaiting their turn to transit the canal. And this is a view looking at the earthen dam across the Chagres River, which is just adjacent, of course, to the Gatun locks. Now we're up on the sports deck, just walking around, seeing what we can see from that vantage point. And there's that auto carrier transport. Now take a look. You can see the scratch marks, which I presume happened when it went through the canal. Well, we too had to wait our turn to traverse the canal. So let's see who's up here on deck, shall we?
Moving, yeah.
Did you see the scratch mark?
I looked for the scratch marks, and you said it hit one side and then the
And
other?
it bounced to the other.
Now, you wouldn't kid us.
It was the tarpon that did that.
Honest to God, it did.
It did.
It
All
did.
right. Well, okay. Cut.
Cut.
Here we go. We'll cut it right now.
Well, we're now underway on Gatun Lake. Say, I wonder what that speck is. Well, it appears to be a dugout canoe. Looks like they're fishing. Now, Gatun Lake, through which we'll travel for 23.5 miles from the Gatun Locks to the north end of the Galliard Cut, actually covers an area of 164 square miles. And it was formed by that earthen dam that we viewed just a little while ago that covers across the Chagres River, which is just adjacent to the Gatun Locks. I found it extremely enjoyable just seeing these ships pass us. Now it's time for a little tea, iced tea, which was served on the deck. You can see the markers on each side of the lane. That's from the bridge, by the way. There's a rusty ship. Lots of oil tankers traveling the canal. This was an interesting little island. Now you can see the markers that the pilot aligned the ship with. Let's go see what's cooking.
I think so.
You've been down there now to that exercise?
Wow, oh boy, it smells good. And this is where the ice cream's at.
What kind? Strawberry? Strawberry chocolate.
Can I have banana strawberry? Is that what you think?
Yes, sir.
I'll take strawberry.
I think this is strawberry.
Strawberry.
Okay, brother.
Oh,
This is your best position, is it not?
Best position.
Yeah, right.
Looking forward to that all morning.
Yeah, right. I've been trying to get you.
I got up early to get this here spot.
Oh, you did? Okay. That's
And we may
good.
not leave all day.
How are you, Betty?
Oh, I'm just doing great.
Oh, it's good, huh?
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable, huh?
Beautiful day.
Like it out here, huh?
Yeah, this is
Lois, how are you? You don't speak much.
No, I'm the quiet one.
You're the quiet one, yeah. At here, not at home, though. Transits per year. So you can see there's a lot of activity on the canal. As was said earlier, it operates 24 hours a day. Up at the bow of this ship. It has one of those protruding noses that's under the water. Well, listen to this, what's going on over there. It's Len. Boy, is he knocking him off. I'll bet he's dreaming probably about the last time that he and Betty went through the canal. And he's probably dreaming about that ship, the Sangaford, Canard's nice ship. But wouldn't it be great if what he's seen was... Hey, Lan, that's it, I think. Is that the Sangaford? It couldn't be. Lan, wake up. Well, we couldn't wake him, so he'll just have to see it here. Say, would you pass the Grey Poupon, please? Hear him yelling. So, hey Len, why don't you wake up? I think it's about 12:30 and time to go have something to eat in the dining room, shall we?
Oh,
Panama.
Look at that, huh?
Noriega.
Yes.
he's taking a picture of you.
Yes. Yeah.
Do your.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi there.
There they are.
Now
Takes good.
Hey, hey.
Yeah.
Here's our waiter here.
Yeah.
Great. You always catch up at the end.
I always have dessert with everybody else, but I always order odd, so.
Get some of the still stuff out of here.
Looks pretty good there, huh?
Yeah. They're taking pictures this way.
Well, you can see out the window.
It's whatever you decide to make it.
Oh, come on.
This one is up.
Kind of a nice view on
I'm
the reef.
usually eating.
All right.
So that's most natural.
That looks good. And Brother Lynn?
This is seafood.
Yeah.
This is it.
This is it. Boy, are you good today.
Liquid diet.
Look at the rest of them here, huh?
No entree?
Oh, probably.
That must be the school.
You say you've seen the crocodiles?
Yes, behind the tree.
Behind they're hiding. All right.
Now we're coming up to the Gilliard Cut.
Correct. It wasn't there last time they looked. Then we'll investigate how deep it is. If there isn't any threat whatsoever, if there might be a landslide, they will take special preventive measures, generally by shaving off some of the top. That relieves the pressure. But
Well, we're right in the thick of the Gilliard Cut. You can see the markers there. And by the way, this portion of the channel is about 8 miles long and was carved through rock and shale for most of the distance. It was here that the principal excavation was required, and here that devastating slides occurred during construction and soon after the canal was opened. You can see they're still doing a lot of work trying to minimize any earthen slides. Right now only one ship can pass through this at a time. You can see the ship in front of us. Now there's another view of those markers. You can see we're aligned directly with them. Now on the left there that we're zooming in on is called Gold Hill. And it's the highest hill along the channel. It rises 587 feet above sea level. On the opposite side is Contractor's Hill, and it originally had an altitude of 410 feet, but this was reduced to 370 feet to stabilize the hill in 1954. The channel in this Gilliard Cut was originally excavated to a width of 300 feet during the 30s and 40s. The straight section immediately north of Gold Hill was widened to 500 feet to provide a passing section for larger ships. There's one of the dredgers. We're told that those dredgers work 24 hours a day, every day of the year. You can see how close we are to the banks.
That's the last shovel.
Now we're coming up to the Continental Divide. And this plaque, bronze plaque, was a memorial to those who built the canal. And it shows the last shovel full of dirt.
It's the last shovel full of dirt. Right, here's the Continental Divide. We're going right over it.
Right now we're just passing the Continental Divide.
This is just before
This is a small settlement just before we enter the Pedro McGill locks. And there they are. As you can see, there's our rowboat again.
They are waiting for us.
There's the ship that was ahead of us. He's going in on the lock adjacent to ours.
See the locks opening, the first one.
There's an arrow that points to which side you're supposed to be on.
Pulling up the lines from the rowboat. Here we go again. Hooked up to the mule. See ahead.
There's our captain.
There's our captain.
Now each of these lock chambers holds about 8 million cubic feet of water, or about 65 million gallons. Every time a ship makes a complete transit, some 52 million gallons of fresh water are spilled into the sea. No pumps are used in filling or emptying the lock chambers. The principle involved is simply that of letting water run downhill, since Gatun Lake is 85 feet above sea level. The water then flows from one level to another through 18-foot culverts located in the center and sidewalls of the locks. You can see the ship next to us is just into the locks.
There's the camera taker.
Hey, there
Hi,
I
all.
am.
You didn't think I'd get in this picture, did you? But I did. There goes the other one out. There's our friend, the automobile carrier, coming up from behind.
Seeps into the 100 hole in the bottom. From there it enters the 20 lateral tunnels and then into the main ones. And then we'll have one large output right here in front of us at Miraflores Lake.
We're looking aft now, and you can see that automobile carrier, which is going to go into the locks next to us. By the way, this tugboat wasn't touching our ship, but it was in there with us. Just listen to the sounds and look at the sights as we continue on through the...
See now where we are. See the sides. Again, here's the tugboat.
Straight down.
Here's a view looking straight down.
We only have about 4.5 feet clearance.
Another mule.
One ship just sitting there.
Well, here in the Pedro McGill locks, we'll be lowered 31 feet in one step to Miraflores Lake.
Yeah, they said when you whittle it out, and they still charge you.
Well, as you can see, we're just going out of the locks. By the way, that lock is 5/6 of a mile long. We're now in this small artificial lake, which is a mile wide, and it separates the two sets of locks. We're now looking at the Miraflora locks. And here we'll be transitioning in 2 steps to sea level, and this is the tallest of any of the locks in the system, and it's tall because of the extreme tidal variation in the Pacific Ocean. There is the visitor center at the Miraflora locks, where people, we were told, come every day to watch the ships traverse the locks.
As you can see down here,
There's a railroad bridge, also a roadway that crosses over the Miraflora locks.
Yeah.
This is a dead fish there on the water, and it's had it, but the seagulls seem to like it.
Captain turns over navigational control to at least one Canal pilot. The other condition is that the tolls are paid in advance. This is done through steamship agents that operate in Panama. Tolls are based according to the Panama Canal tonnage of the ship, but based on the universal measurement system, which basically is the internal space of a ship. Now the canal goes a bit further and applies a special formula which eliminates non-revenue earning areas, the bridge, engine room, where the crew is, things like that. That is taken out. So they're not letting tolls on that area, on those areas. The rates at this time are $2.21 per ton with cargo, $1.76 per ton without. The average is around $33,000. The highest was paid by the cruise ship Crown Princess, $141,344.97. The lowest, 36 cents, paid by Richard Halliburton, who swam the canal in 1928. In front, safety gates, ones that were more directly in front of us, act as a shield, protecting the main ones. The concern of the designers was that by an accident they could lose the big reserve lift, which would take about 2 years to recover. Disastrous for everyone concerned.
the gates are opening.
Well, there's another view of the bridge that crosses the locks. It accommodates both automobiles as well as trains. And there's the center span. Well, we're just now out of the Miraflora locks, and this completes our transit through the canal. And coming alongside is the pilot boat to pick up not only the pilot that's been on all the way, but also the gentleman who was doing the commentary, telling us all about the canal, the pertinent features, etc. So we'll watch them get on this little pilot boat, shall we? That muffled sound, by the way, is the wind. That's quite a maneuver, isn't it? They got him. Boy, that really worked good, didn't it? There's a wave.
Check it out again.
There now is a view of Panama City, and this is the port of Balboa, and that is the Bridge of the Americas. Again, this is in the port of Balboa, and there's Panama City. Now the Bridge of the Americas is where the Pan American International Highway crosses. And here we go under that structure. It's about 5 p.m., by the way. There we go.
Not really. What's that? Yeah, we are.
Oh yeah, it's the way the low tide goes.
There's the bridge from that spot. And now we're on the stern of the ship, looking at the causeway with Panama City in the background there. And now we're in the good old Pacific Ocean. Yes, I am.
Are you taking?
Yeah.
Green light's on.
Yes, it is on. We're getting ya.
Never know.
Well, we stood out there on the bow of the ship for some time just enjoying the sights of the area. And then it was down to our cabins to clean up, get ready for dinner, and a show that evening. And the main show that evening was a Filipino cruise show in the Van Gogh Lounge. Shall we go there? Well, now here are some excerpts from that program.
Okay, and for second number, as the world knows, the Spaniards colonized the Philippines for more than 300 years. Definitely, we will influenced by the Spanish way, notably Christianity. 85% of the Filipinos are Roman Catholics. Even the language, some of the words came from the Spanish origin. Well, the coming up dance number is getting from the Spaniard. It is called the La Jota Macadena. Ladies and food department and engine department. And now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, do you like the blending of their boy?
Yes.
Next number, it's called planting rice. As most people know, the Philippine staple food is rice, and every year there's a season for planting rice. And on this coming up number called Magtatanim, it characterizes how men and women in open rice field enjoy the merriment of planting rice. While describing how hard it is, it's because of bending down and up while doing their planting rice. skill on how to balance the candles while dancing in their head and in their hands. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the candlelight dancers. Dance. However, this dance, if you are born with two identical left feet, I will not encourage you to learn to do it. Otherwise, the doctor on board will be very busy by tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, while waiting, I would like to invite one of the guests here to do a little tinikling in the stage. Okay? Yes, sir. Can I invite you, sir? Just to do a little? Anyway, there's a doctor for tomorrow. Yes, sir. Okay. Just a little. It's just like this, sir. You just put one of your feet. Oh, please. One. No, please, okay? Okay, go ahead, sir. There's a doctor tomorrow. Don't you worry. Okay? 1, 2, down. 1, 2, down. Okay, another one, sir. Another one. Okay? Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you very much for all the time that you spend in this show. And of course, we would like to express our deepest appreciation to the people whom without them these shows will not be possible. Of course, to our Commander, Honorable Captain Keith Buckens. For them. Mr. Steve Neal.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a hand to your MC, Maria Tree. Take a bow. And I've got to tell you, tonight I discovered I think I've been out to sea too long because you're looking pretty good to me. I need a vacation, I think. But in all seriousness, as I introduced all of them, like I said, you see them all throughout the ship. They work all day, all night, every day. They've gotten together on their own time, put this show together for your enjoyment, and they enjoy pleasing you. But I tell you what, there's a lot of times that they are seen throughout the ship. They don't get to come on the stage, have the lights, have the applause. This is the only time they can do it, and this is the only time that you can show them the appreciation they deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give a hand to our wonderful Filipino crew aboard the MS Costa.
And the well-deserved standing ovation.
Take a bow, everybody, take a bow.
Buffet, don't you think? After a good night's sleep, it's now Wednesday, May 3rd, and it's 8 a.m. And if we go up on deck, we'll see that we're cruising Golfo Dulce. Now, Golfo Dulce is a picturesque region of Costa Rica. And much of this shoreline and inland areas are better known as a national park. And this was a mecca for biological research long before its declaration as a national park in 1975. Look how calm it is here. The only disturbance, as you'll notice, is our wake. It's unique because of the existence of lowlands, marshes, and mountain zones covering the area. And it has a real high tropical rainfall and a dense forest of rare plants and trees, which grow, we're told, to well over 100 feet. Hi guys.
Hi, we've got to go up and then down. We can't get there from here.
Yeah, you can.
Climb the steps.
Somebody's lost.
Like a bunch of batfish.
Oh, by the way, that's a bunch of batfish we're jumping. Well, I wonder when they're coming up.
How are you?
They're going the other way now.
Hi.
Hi.
We
Find this spot.
Well, we've seen you. You were up there too before you came down here.
It took us a half an hour to find our way down.
Talk about calm.
Just a beautiful area, as you can see. Very, very little human life out there. Well, the captain's going to come on and tell us about it.
Happy on starboard side. Just passing Cabo Punta Esquianos, and that is named after the river which comes into the bay here right ahead of our starboard bow. That is Rio Espinos. And we are almost at the top of the bay. The bay here is still like the whole, it's actually about 5.5 miles wide. And from the beginning, from the entrance of the bay, it's about 30 nautical miles deep in this bay. So, with this river, the bay is silting up quite a bit, so I'll have to make a little bit wider turn around this lowland of the river entrance.
Some more batfish.
We'll sail by closely by the Rico, another river coming in the bay there, and we make slowly our way out of the local gulches, but it's about half an hour or so before we actually reach the very top of the island of the bay. Sorry. So I hope you enjoy it, and also the wildlife. You see the occasional bird, you see the giant mosquito also in the tree. So please hope that you do enjoy your lunch and scenery. Thank you.
Just kind of wondered where he was going. He circled around the ship. Now what they're looking at is these lines.
What are you looking at?
And see the difference in the color.
Now look, here's some more of them here.
See, there's a difference in the color of these lines that appear in the water. And what it is, it's the fresh water mixing from the river. There's a lot of silt there. You can really see them there. And that's the river right over there. That's the. And now we're heading out of the.
They're heading for lunch.
They're heading
You can
for
tell
lunch.
that fast walk, can't you?
Betty's looking for pennies.
Yeah, right. For pennies. Did you find?
Find a penny, Betty?
Huh?
Find a penny?
No. I told her.
Now there's Don and Zella. This is a photo that was taken by the ship's photographer, and this is down in the photo display area. Quite a bit of light down there, but I thought I'd shoot a few with my video camera. Hi, George and Lois. And there's Betty and Lynn. And now it's to a port lecture.
At well over 11,000 feet above sea level, the Pan American Highway, and goes further south and into Panama. And the Pan American Highway there, they actually have frost at Mount Rico and those mountains south of San Jose. Even at this time of year, they have frost there in the mornings at the top of those mountains. Now, let's talk about some things to do during the day. We've talked about the country, a quick overview of things to see. What can you do by day from, I might as well keep this, what can you do from Caldera if you're going to go on your own? The thing that I recommend, and before I talk about things to do on your own, the thing that I recommend from the ship in Costa Rica is to take...
Okay, let's go in the puzzle corner, see who's in there.
Guys have a video camera.
See how he doesn't,
Right,
doesn't get to put any pieces in because he's busy watching us.
Boy, you're doing good, huh?
What color does that point? Is it dark green?
The point is a green with, with
some
a dark
purple,
but it's just a tiny little arm, so you've got to find one
Could
up
that be
there.
a tiny little?
Just put it in.
Oh,
shit!
you're so fast. Look at
Yes,
it. Doesn't
you
have
have
the
You have it,
It's so strange.
Boy, they're working hard.
Colors are not what you think they are.
As you can see, they're really huddled around that table. Try. It's
Delightful.
coming up on what, about 6 o'clock?
6:30. We're going to have to get ready for dinner pretty soon.
6:30.
Okay.
Time to eat.
6:30, Wednesday, May 5th.
All right, that's good.
And we're now on our way to Costa Rica. Lois is up still doing that jigsaw puzzle. We'll take a walk around the ship and see how things are. As you can see, pretty calm. Well, here's a shot off of the fantail. Look over in there. It's really raining, isn't it? Just take a look at this. Well, it's about the end of the day. Not much of a sunset, but it's pretty out there, isn't it? Look how calm the water is.
Well, we're back in the cabin and turned the TV set on, and look at this neat display they have. At the top it shows you where you're going and what time you're going to be there, and then there's a map which shows your route. There's little insignias on the route that shows you exactly where you are at this time. Very, very clever. Now here we are in Puerto Caldera in Costa Rica, looking around in the harbor. And yeah, I'm up on the sky deck right now. And you know, I don't know what day it is, but I'll tell you one thing. My brother, who's always right, he knows, I'll bet. I'll ask him.
Hey, great. I think it's May 3rd. Let me check. Uh-oh. May 4th. For the time.
Oh, well.
Sure. I think it's all screwed up.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, as you can see, Betty and Lois were watching them unload grain from the ship that was just astern from us. Well, and here's a view of the dock area. Not much there, really, at Puerto Caldera. You can see that's where they were unloading the grain. It was interesting here that the trucks that were loaded with grain from the ship would all go over here to this inspection place, and a fellow would get in, as you can see, with a long stick, and he'd push it down and I think take a reading to see how deep it was, each of those piles, and also he might be taking samples of the grain. You be the judge. We couldn't figure it out. Well, we went ashore just there on the dock area, and of course they have lots of t-shirts and local art for sale. Then we went back of the grain. You be the judge. We couldn't figure it out. Well, we went ashore just there on the dock area, and of course they have lots of t-shirts and local art for sale. Then we went back on the ship just for a quiet day, since we had done the San Jose trip previously when we were here. By the way, we might be relaxing, but look, They never relax, do they? Well, it's up to the puzzle center. See how that's coming along, and then let's take a tour of the ship, shall we? Start on the upper promenade, looking towards the dining room. And as you can see, there's a lot of artifacts. They have several $1 million of artifacts throughout the ship. This is the Rotterdam dining room, and we're entering it on the second floor. Beautiful ceiling. At night, those lights just shimmered. And this is looking from the upper floor down to the lower floor. And of course, there's flowers throughout the ship. There's one of the stained glass windows. There's 4 of them in the dining room. This is the view looking aft on the upper dining room deck. That's another one of those stained glass windows. Now let's go down the stairs, shall we? This is the area where we had dinner and lunch. You can see the view we had. And that's our table. And hey, that's our flowers. You remember those, Artie? And here's another stained glass window. Again, we're downstairs now. The 4th stained glass window. These were very effective lamps, and this is where the music was played each night. This shows you the elegance of the dining room, looking up towards the ceiling, and here's the doors. And I was particularly impressed of the balls that were embedded in them. Now, again, we're at the dining room. This is the promenade deck now. And we'll head towards the stairs, shall we? Come around. Morning.
Good morning.
Well, the elevators, of course. They had 4 on each end.
Stairs going up to the upper promenade. Look at these rails. Gorgeous. At the top of this one is a series of glass. Very effective. We're back to the dining room. Take a look at what's being on there for tonight. There's the appetizers. There's the soups. Here's the salads. Now we're coming to the entrees. Even to stuffed quail. And here's the desserts. In the dining room. The dining room, by the way, is aft on the ship. And we'll come forward. There's more art there. A little reflection from that fancy stained glass windows now into the library. A lot of people using it, as you can see. It was well stocked with all kinds of books and magazines. Very attractive woodwork. Got another piece?
Now,
good for you.
There's the puzzle center. And here's videotapes. They were available for those in the high-rise areas that had VCRs. We didn't have one, unfortunately. Here's the card room. And there, as you can see, is a nice Chinese vase. And here was some modern art. And now we're back to some of the nautical art that they had from pieces that they had collected from years back. Navigational instruments, real old ones. Inside of that. And here we're looking across at the most expensive piece on the ship. It's valued at $80,000.
And through here
here's the casino, of course.
This is where Artie spent a lot of her time.
Yeah, Artie, you spent a lot of time here, didn't you? Won a lot of money, did you, Artie? At least $2, right? Here's that ship again.
It's a model ship.
And it's a model of a 1740 warship. As I said, it was valued at $80,000. This is a room, a smoking room, and right adjacent to it was the game room. Let's go in.
Well, if you are, you better take up some target practice first. There's a mean bunch showing up. I'm scared. Well, you better set your sights. I'll see you back in town.
This is the game that you shoot. You can fire at the cowboys. Oh, they're getting out of the way. Inside, we're now going into the Explorer's Lounge.
Look who's over there. She's working on her eyeglass holder.
Now we're out of the Explorer's Lounge. We're walking. In here are more artifacts.
Now we're going down the hall.
Coming up to the store areas. Shops. Good morning.
Good morning.
Here we are, Bob. This is coming up to where the piano bar is. Sweeping around. You see the stores. Shop windows. Looking into the piano bar. And is the other side of the casino. No action going now because we're in port. Look over here. See the rest of the shop area. Right across is Cannon. Here's the yardrobe.
And both Betty and Len and Lois and I bought a piece of yardrobe. Got some real nice pieces there. That's the one that Betty wanted. If she won a big jackpot.
Morning. This side is another store. Over here is just a lounge area.
Hey, who's this?
And I think I see somebody I know over here. Hi there.
What's for lunch?
Are you oh yeah, I knew you'd say that. Are you relaxing?
Of course.
That's the...
We've done the laundry.
Just checking out the lunchtime.
Okay, all right. We'll see you there at lunch.
Have you seen your wife today?
Yeah, she's down doing...
I know where she is.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. You know where everybody is on the ship.
But I tried.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Okay.
See you for lunch.
Okay.
Now we're going over to the atrium area. And this statue is 3 floors.
You hear the piano playing?
You hear the piano?
Shall we go down and see what's going on? Another view in the atrium area. Looking down. We really didn't have to go down and hear the piano. There's the piano.
By the way, that is called the Fountain of the Sirens, and it's 14.5 feet across at the base and extends up more than 26 feet. Beautiful.
Escalators. Take you downstairs. Chipmunk. Back up to the top floor again. It's over by the ocean water. This is a big display board. I mean, it's good size, as you can see. And take a look here where we're going. It has buttons over here that you can program to show other voyages, etc. For example, for Columbus's travels. See? Shows where he traveled.
Shows his route.
Really a clever display. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Fine. Quiet this morning.
Sure?
Yeah, we decided we'd skip it today. We've been here before. Good morning over there.
Welcome to the ocean bar.
Oh, thank you. See you tonight.
We're in Puerto Rico.
Right on. There's the ocean bar. See all around the ship. Fountains, etc. There's the Van Gogh Theater balcony. Looks much nicer at night when it's lit. You can see here the doorknobs.
By the way, since they were practicing, we'll just have to take a look at that a little bit later.
There's a picture of the Staten Dam. That's the ship we're on, of course. Go down the stairs.
You see, that was Staten Dam 5 up there. It's Staten Dam 4. This is Staten Dam 3. Another flight of stairs. Dam 2.
How are you?
Fine, beautiful ship.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the captain, of course.
And this is the Staten Dam 1.
By the way, that captain was a neat guy.
The original one. On the forward staircase, we're actually on the promenade deck. Just to show you what's here again, remind you where we're at. We're right in this area. Let's take a walk back over there. Yeah, Java Cafe. Nice seating area. We'll go over there. See, they have Starbucks coffee. On the other side is the theater. Theater? We're inside the theater.
Always good.
Ah, yes.
Coffee?
I enjoy your coffee. What all kinds do you have?
We have the cappuccino, the espresso, the cafe au lait, and the coffee mocha.
Oh boy, that's good. You keep us well supplied. Thank you much.
You're welcome, sir.
So, where you can sign up for shore excursions. Over in here is the satellite telephone booth. There's the Majesty, Queen. Front desk. How are you? Good. Thanks. Enjoying it. Thank you.
Well, you know what she said? She said it was the end of part 1, and we should see you on part 2. So, we'll see you in